So what have you guys accomplished in the last 36 hours or however it's been since we've seen you?
We've watched some film. We've gone through some offensive breakdown stuff. Shot a bunch of free throws, and it's kind of turned the page.
You mentioned the first half film or practice was going to be pretty film focused. What's the biggest thing that you picked up now that you've watched it?
You know, it was hard for me, right after the game to really process it all. Um, but we were closer than I thought immediately, and the emotion of it felt pretty bad. Not still don't feel good that we lost, but it's a 3-point game with just over a minute to go, and we've got the ball. I mean, and Thomas kind of bobbles a shot right over here and come down the next possession, and we short close out on Wigington at 6, and it's hard because the other team shoots good free throws, and now your offense, which isn't great, it's got to have multiple good possessions. So we're close. It's kind of what you expect in this league, though, right? It's in the last 2 or 3 minutes, it's going to be a 2 or 3 possession game, and the team that executes the best and makes a few shots is going to be the team that wins. So we're not far off, but we're still not quite over the hump.
Well, that was something you and Lindy had mentioned, is how there were kind of flashes or moments where you all would really get in sync on offense, but then it wouldn't last. What are you all looking at to kind of try to sustain the momentum on offense?
Well, the first thing is we can't let our lack of offensive execution start affecting us on the defensive end, because that's really what's giving us a chance right now. Is our offense is really holding us down until our defense, is really holding us down until our offense continues to get better, more fluid. Now, we were 8 for 24 in layups the other day, right? And we missed 7 of them in the first 4 or 5 minutes. We've just got to be better than that. We got to make those because you're not getting better shots. It's the second easiest shot in the game other than the free throw because it's uncontested most of the time. So we got to make layups first, and then when we have opportunities to get some open threes, we got to take advantage. Got to get Lindy to the free throw line. Had no free throws. He leads our league in free throw attempts. Doesn't take enough of them. So those are things we're looking at to adjust.
Another thing Lindy had mentioned is kind of trying to get all the guys on the same page. What's the communication like among the team on the court?
Yeah, it's still a work in progress for us. There were probably 5 or 6 possessions the other day where we're running something offensively, and there's one guy that's out of place or not doing what he's supposed to do, and it affects the whole. Either because your space is off or your time is off, or you just can't get the shot that you're looking for. So just got to continue to work at it. The guys are trying to do the right thing. Just sometimes we don't have enough focus. We lose discipline. For instance, we're guarding ball screens a certain way all game, and the one time we don't, we give up a layup to Lard, and no one's close to guarding him. And we didn't give up that shot the whole game. And that moment of lapse in this league, it's taken advantage of, and we've got to try to continue to eliminate those mistakes. They're happening less frequently as we go along, but eventually we've got to completely get them out of there.
You mentioned before how Kendall Smith really didn't grasp Bedlam that first time last year. Is that something you're trying to do take a different approach to this year with your young guys?
Yeah, we talked to him about it. Obviously, the other night, none of our freshmen are from the state of Oklahoma, and they don't quite understand it. But we've tried to set a tone in their minds on the scoreboard. It'll count as win or loss, right? But it means more, and we don't shy away from that. I mean, it means something to recruiting. It means something to our fans and to our former players, and so it means something to us. And again, if we win, it won't count as 2 wins or 1.5 wins or anything like that. But there'll be people walking around with a little bit more pride, and the people that support us matter to us.
What have you learned about this game in your 2 years here?
That it's probably kind of underrated nationally. All of these games that I've been a part of, other than the one we played down there, have been really good games. I mean, we competed probably for the first 6 or 8 minutes down there, and then they ran away with it. But I played a hell of a game with them here. It's a pretty competitive game, although I can't remember the score we won by in the tournament, but it was a competitive game with them there. The 2 games when we were a tournament team and they weren't very good 2 years ago were both close games. So you can expect that in most all rivalries, but when you're not from here, you don't feel it, you're not intimately involved, and you're not consumed by it, you can kind of just blow it off as that rivalry over in the Midwest.
This is obviously a very different OU team than the one you guys saw a year ago. What impresses you about what they've done so far?
Well, they look like Coach Kruger's teams that I always watched play, whether it was at Florida, or Illinois, UNLV. They're really good defensively, and they're pretty in sync defensively. They do a better job, and this isn't a slight to Trey. They share the ball more collectively. And he had a ton of assists, so it's not like he was a selfish player. He was the only one who had assists, though. And now they do a better job of distributing the wealth collectively. And you can tell they look like they're having a little bit more fun playing with each other than they did, at least toward the end of last year.
Obviously, you don't need someone to Trey Young's level, but do you feel like you need a guy to step up to be the main scorer for this team?
Never hurts to have somebody with that much talent, I'll tell you that. Obviously, I wasn't in their locker room, so I don't know all that went on, but obviously he's also responsible for a lot of success that they had. So let's not kid ourselves that didn't happen. But that's not the makeup of our team. We've got to do it more collectively. We've got to do it more as a group. And again, it's got to be defensively first, and then as offense comes, early on we were better. We had better distribution, and now we've got to have Cam and Lindy and Thomas consistently performing night in, night out. We can't have Ice, who had a pretty poor performance by his own admission, well below his standards, and Curtis Jones kind of no-show on us on a night like that because they're two of our more productive offensive players. Not that they score 20, but they can create offense because of their ability to drive the basketball.
What's your favorite part about this team? I know that there's been so much challenge with it being a younger group, but because I know you see so much potential, so what's your favorite part about what you've seen?
Is that they're not phased, and it's not that they don't care. It's just that it doesn't necessarily affect them the next day. It's what you have to have. You got to have a short memory. I won't call it the Big 12 conference. I call it the short memory conference. Right? And whether win or lose. I mean, the 4 teams who won the other night, if they think they're going to go and win just because they had success Wednesday, they're kidding themselves. And the 4 teams that lost have an opportunity to go and find success the next time out. So, that ability to turn the page and focus on the next opportunity is something that's really, really important for us.
You mentioned trying to kind of teach them about the Bedlam rivalry. How do you think they've taken to that? Do you think that they're expecting, or do you think maybe they're going to have to see it first?
I mean, there's definitely part of it you got to see. I mean, there's no doubt, because you can't simulate the atmosphere or the energy or the angst, right? And I wouldn't even try to simulate some of the things that they may hear, right? And so, that part of it, that teammates can tell them about, Cam and Thomas and Lindy, Trey Reeves, they've been down there, they know what it's like. But they'll get down there and they'll see it for themselves, and I hope it doesn't catch any of them off guard. But that's also why we went in some of the environments we went in this year. It wasn't maybe as vulgar as it could be down there, but Nebraska was a pretty hostile environment. It was a great basketball environment. I loved it. Playing in Tulsa wasn't easy. So we challenged ourselves to be prepared for the actual games in those environments, even if you can't necessarily simulate the type of hatred that exists amongst the fans.
Is that a point where inexperience is almost kind of a plus, where they don't know any better, they just have had all these tough games that they've got to go through?
Yeah, a little bit, maybe. They're maybe not smart enough to know that it's not okay, but not being consumed by it, right? I'm not in the least concerned about Ice overthinking that he was 1 for 7. Now he still rebounded and defended at a pretty high level, but he also had some pretty crucial breakdowns on the offensive end, which led to, I think he'll have an easier time kind of getting ready for tomorrow and making sure he's much better for us.
The Bedlam wins the last 2 years have been really big moments for this team. What can a Bedlam win this year do for this team?
I have no idea. I mean, I don't know what. Every day, it's just 24 hours at a time. I wake up, I really, with this particular team, it's really come down to just be good for 40 minutes. And let's go try to win the game. And during the game, I tell them I wish we could take the scoreboard down and you guys will be the only ones that can kind of see it on the tablet over there, because that's the type of way we have to focus. Can't worry about any of the other stuff. And when the 40 minutes is up, make sure we've done everything we could physically and mentally in terms of being locked in on the game plan. And let's see where the chips fall from there. And that's kind of the way I've got to approach it, because I've got to lead that in that way.
And you mentioned how, of course, being from Norman, he sometimes can get heckled a little more when he goes there, but he kind of thrives off that. How do you see this rivalry light a fire in him?
Man, definitely, kids from Oklahoma, I've said this before, it means more. They understand it. I don't have to talk about how hard it's going to be with the environment. And obviously, if a kid's from the town, right, and there's some history with their fans and him and being from there and all that stuff. So you could definitely tell he's got a little bit more focus in his eyes. I don't know if he's played in a game that we haven't won against them in his career. I think somebody may have pointed that out to me yesterday. I didn't even think about it, but obviously he didn't play in the game we played down there last year. But it matters, and that's why it's a big deal, because kids like him grow up in this state. They want to be a part of it, and in the future we'll want to have more kids who understand exactly what it takes, who are from here and want to put on our jersey.
He reminded us that he's undefeated.
Okay. Good for him.
Do you have an update on Mike Cunningham?
No, I mean there's nothing really to update at this point. He's still part of the team. He's still kind of going through practice. We'll see. He's got practice today. Again, for us it's about standards, and it's across the board with everybody. He and Contravious are both still in the same area right now. They're available. Whether they play or not, we'll see. It's kind of a day-to-day deal for them.
How has his absence affect the way you've had to manage this team?
It always, you want to have as many options available to you as you possibly can, and especially when you're not the most talented. You want to have every way you can possibly. He's got who's shown he can really shoot the basketball. It's an area we're struggling with, so certainly he can help us in that regard. But I'm not into necessarily lowering what we're trying to build. This is a long-term deal. I'm here for the long haul, man. And winning a game or playing better for one 40-minute segment isn't worth the long-term ramifications that you set when if you set a standard and guys don't meet it and you don't hold them accountable, you don't have a standard, or you've changed the standard to whatever you've allowed to happen. So that's where we are. That's part of the deal, and that's the way it'll be as long as I'm the head coach here.
Did you get heckled more as a player or now as a coach?
I actually enjoy the fan interaction. I just enjoy the game, though. I don't know if I was good enough to get heckled really as a player, to be honest. Obviously, going to Clemson was kind of the rivalry for me as a player. I was undefeated against them for my whole career, right? I'll make sure you guys are aware of that. But I don't know if I ever really think about it. I enjoy it. It's kind of the competitor in me. I've reveled playing against the best competition possible, and these moments bring out the best in competitors.